many bank accounts are associated with Joe Biden?
With Joe Biden, well, that's been a harder nut to crack there. We found some accounts, we found some different expenses and things like that.
Just pick a month, right? So we can get it on the calendar and do the impeachment. So hold on, I'll give you choices. Ready? June, July. How about September? Okay. So we're never going to schedule this thing. It's never going to happen. He's sending out more subpoenas because he has no evidence.
After months of public embarrassment and weeks of inactivity, Republicans are yet again trying to resurrect the failed sham Biden impeachment inquiry, only to suffer further humiliation by Democrats during a hearing and by themselves at their own hands in right-wing media. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bell before you go. All right, friends, we have many clips to look at in this video, and they're so much fun, right? Republicans are at it again. The one major political initiative that they have been attempting since they took the majority in 2023 is to impeach President Biden, and it has been an abject failure. And one of the reasons why this iteration of Congress is the least productive since the Great Depression and is on track to be the least productive since the Civil War. That is 100% the fault of Republicans. So during a House Oversight Committee hearing yesterday, which in a roundabout way was an attempt to shore up their weak, terrible, pathetic attempts to impeach President Biden, they were called out on it by Democratic Congressman Jared Moskowitz, who once again tried to throw them a bone.
So again, Mr. Chairman, since you think this is the final blow, right? And obviously the chairman of Judiciary is here too. We only have June, July, and September before the election. We're not here in August and October. So, I mean, I'm sure the American people are paying attention at 11:30 p.m. where you buried this hearing because it's so important. When are we going to do the impeachment of Joe Biden? When is that going to happen? Is it going to be June? Is it going to be July? Is it going to be September? Let's put it on the calendar. Let's just put it on the calendar. Pick a month. We're available. We were available at 11 a.m. You guys weren't. Just pick a month, right? So we can get it on the calendar and do the impeachment. So hold on, I'll give you choices. Ready? June, July. How about September? Okay, so we're never going to schedule this thing. It's never going to happen. He's sending out more subpoenas because he has no evidence, okay? And yet here we go around and around and around. And so we
Great stuff from Jared Moskowitz. This is the second time he's done this, by the way. But actually, before I do that, I don't know if you caught it. When he started to give dates, let's see.
Calendar. Let's just put it on the calendar. Pick a month. We're available. We were available at 11 a.m. You guys weren't. Just pick a month, right? So we can get it on the calendar and do the impeachment. So hold on. I'll give you choices. Ready? June.
Did you hear that? We just need the evidence. That was Republican Congressman Scott Perry. We just need the evidence. I thought you had evidence. Do you not have evidence? You've been at this for a year and a half. Of course you need evidence to impeach the president. The fact that you're saying you just need the evidence means you don't have the evidence, which means this entire year and a half was an abject failure. They give the game away. But this is the second time Moskowitz has done this because he knows that Comer and the Republicans don't have the votes necessary to pursue impeachment against the president, which would probably be politically costly, right? So he's like, listen, I'll vote with you. I will help you. I will announce a motion to impeach President Biden. Just tell me what month you want, and then one of you can second it. And Comer and everybody were dead silent on it. Eric Swalwell, another Democrat, pointed this out the same day during a Judiciary Committee meeting as well.
Thank you, Mr. Ivey. And I think the point is, it's never going to be enough. Like, you guys are not doing oversight, you're doing overkill. And as soon as you get the audio, you're going to say, well, we wish there should have been a video. And then you'll get a video. And then you'll say, well, we wanted his health records. Like, well, who knows, like, if he, wasn't on some medication that affected it. And then once you get that, you're going to say, well, there was not a polygrapher there. We don't know if he was telling the truth or not. You have been thoroughly, and I want to emphasize, thoroughly humiliated in your impeachment quest, which, by the way, is that happening? Is that dead? I pronounced it dead a couple weeks ago. Is it happening? I don't think it's happening. And so you're humiliated. And so you're digging and digging and digging and digging, and you just want more. But guys, it's not happening. You're not impeaching him. You have nothing. I just invite you to move on. Like, let's do something that actually helps people
They have no interest. They're Republicans. They have no interest in helping people, right? Not even their own constituents, which is why very few states have actually done well under Republican rule, and why Democratic states tend to outperform them in most of the major metrics, and why certainly at the national level, Republican presidencies have been abject disasters. They're not interested in governing. They're not interested in producing material benefits for the American people. They're only interested in stuff like this. And if that's not clear, you need only look to, again, same day, James Comer's, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, his most recent interview by Maria Bartiromo on the Fox Propaganda Network, in which he once again humiliates himself.
Morning, Maria.
Where does this investigation stand?
Well, hopefully we're in the final stages. This morning, I issued a subpoena for targeted financial information from a certain financial institution related to Jim Biden, Sarah Biden, and Hunter Biden.
Guess who Jim and Hunter and Sarah, guess who they are famously not? Joe Biden, the president of the United States. He's still tilting at windmills. He's still trying to collect stuff in the periphery around Joe Biden, president of the United States. Ridiculous stuff. He's trying to make the case that somehow President Biden is morally, legally, politically, civically culpable for whatever sins he believes Biden's family have made or conducted. But there's no constitutional basis for it. And that's assuming that he has the basis to establish that they've done anything wrong in the first place. I digress. More from Comer.
How many bank accounts are associated with Joe Biden?
With Joe Biden, well, that's been a harder nut to crack there. We found some accounts, we found some different expenses and things like that coincided with some of the Hunter Biden LLCs and shell companies and things like that. But at the end of the day, the Biden family were the ones that were taking the.
Again, he gives the game. This is the Grand Inquisitor of the Biden witch hunt, and you hear him stuttering and stammering. Well, Joe Biden, the president, the guy we're trying to impeach. Well, that's a tough nut to crack. But the Biden family, that counts, right? Do we get some credit for that? Is it a little bit? Do we get most of an impeachment for family? Does that count? Stupid stuff.
You've made a couple of comments this morning. You said money laundering. You said bribery. You said influence peddling. Obviously, Mr. Chairman, these are very, very serious charges. And the White House is denying it. How will you prove it?
Yeah. Well, we're going to present the American people with a report, hopefully very soon. And there are going to be a lot of footnotes in this report. There's a lot of hard evidence, bank statements, emails.
But he doesn't have the goods on Biden. Otherwise, when she says, "What do you have on Biden?" he would have been like, "Oh, plenty. Let me tell you about what I'm going to put in these footnotes." Now he's like, "No, listen, the footnotes, which won't have really anything to do with Biden. It's going to seal the deal." Folks, so important that we contextualize this. Republicans have been in the majority in the House of Representatives. They have an obligation to help Democrats govern. When you're in the minority, Democrat or Republican, you don't forfeit your constitutional obligation to help govern. You don't forfeit your obligation to your constituents. Again, that's on both sides. When Democrats are in the minority, they also have an obligation when and where they can to help Republicans govern. And Democrats take it seriously. As I pointed out, when Donald Trump was president, 2020, it was an election year. Donald Trump was already demonstrating himself to be a fascist, right? He said he wasn't going to accept the peaceful transfer of power, the election results, and he didn't. He was mismanaging COVID, et cetera, and so forth. Democrats hated Trump and wanted to impeach him. As a matter of fact, they tried to impeach him. I think it was at the beginning of 2020 or late 2019. And yet, because it was a crisis going on, the pandemic, Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, a Democrat who tried to impeach Trump, also worked with him bipartisanly to pass 2 major COVID stimulus bills, knowing that he would get the credit for it, knowing that he would put his name on the checks. Because at the end of the day, even Democrats, as much as they are flawed, and we are flawed, and as much as they despise Trump for perfectly valid reasons, we're capable of governing, and we're interested in governing, and we're willing to do it even when the other side gets credit for it during a highly contested election year. Republicans will not do the same. They have no interest in statesmanship. They have no interest in working bipartisanly with President Biden or the Democrats because it would be seen as giving Biden a political victory during an election year. The two parties are just fundamentally, factually different. Republicans hate Democrats more than they love this country, to the extent that they love it at all. And I would argue they very often hate it. They love their idealized fictional version of the United States of America. They hate America as it is, and they hate Democrats even more than they hate America, which is why they'll never work in good faith with the Democratic Party. It's all pure cynical politics. And with that in mind, you should keep that in mind as the election approaches and punish them at the ballot box. Republicans should lose every election. There is no room in this country, as far as I'm concerned, for an elected Republican. They should lose every election. They shouldn't be city dog catcher because they can't be trusted. Their leader is Donald Trump, a fascist, loser, anti-American, tyrant wannabe. And they refuse to disavow him. They refuse to move on. They actually refuse to adhere to their own conservative principles. They don't care. So we just see that demonstrated by James Comer in this failed sham impeachment inquiry against President Biden. Let me know what you think in the comments.